move on to our next speaker, Haseeb Ahmad, the Equality and Diversity Lead of the University of Leicester.
Thanks. Do you mind if I'm going to change actually pretty much what I was going to be talking about, because I think you've heard quite a lot of excellent speakers before me and a lot of statistics. In fact, you've just heard me reel off a few myself. I may mention a few as I speak. But I want to take you through a personal journey. So I want to depart a little bit from the speakers before me and take you through that journey. It's a personal journey, and there's a reason why I want to do this, because it is very relevant to what we're talking about tonight in respect to diversity. I am of Pakistani origin. My parents are Muslim. They came into the UK in the 1960s. My dad came first, followed by my mother. And they moved to Wolverhampton because my father took up a place at the teacher training college. And he was there a year. And I popped along in 1969. You'll work out my age now. And after a little bit of time there in Wolverhampton, we got a job down in London. So my mother, I went down to London and I bought a house in a place you may recognise, Brixton. John Major was from Brixton. Doesn't tell you a lot, does it really? So there we were in Brixton. My brother then popped along a year later, in 1971, and my mother and father were making home. There was a lot to do, and I think my mum was struggling as well. So my father, in his wisdom, a very patriarchal family set up, sent himself and my brother to Pakistan for a few years. They were. And around about 1974, 5. We came back, and when I arrived at Heathrow Airport, I thought I saw my mum, so I ran over to her, and it happened to be my auntie. And my father realised my son can't see very well, so he took us to the opticians, got some glasses, and I was able to see a lot better. I went through school like any other school kid at that time. I played in the school playground, I played games, I read, I wrote. To all intents and purposes, my father had high expectations of himself and my brother, very high. Being a teacher, one of his younger brothers was a doctor, another one of his brothers was an accountant, not unusual in that kind of family sort of setup. In fact, he did extremely well in comparison to a lot of his other cousins and family members. He was breaking the mould. He came over to the UK to, like many people who came over to the UK, to make a living, to help his family out back home. What he didn't know was that one day both his sons, his eldest sons, going to go blind. Now, my first experience of racism was in that school playground, 1975, 1976, playing in that school playground. It's the first time I heard the word "paki," and I was confused. I wasn't quite sure what was going on there. All I knew was it wasn't said with kindness; it was said with hate in the heart of the kid that was older than myself and bigger than me. And I learned to keep out of his way. And when I go backwards and forwards from school, I heard it a lot. So I learned to actually survive. I think a lot of you will know that term, survival. So we went on, and in 1980 my father decided to take up a teaching post in Zambia. And off we went with great excitement, all very excited, my brother and I. new adventures out in Zambia, and then my father quickly realised that he didn't want us to have our schooling in Zambia and sent both my brother and I to boarding school. And while I was at boarding school, I started to experience tunnel vision, night blindness. I realised that I couldn't even see the blackboard even if I was right in front of the class. I was a very keen footballer, I used to play really well. And I realised that in fact my footballing skills were deteriorating as my sight deteriorated. How did I know? Well, A, I couldn't see the ball properly, and B, when you get picked in class, I used to be the one that used to get picked, one of the first to be picked, when the selections were up at the school playground, and I went down the list slowly over the year, over 12 months, over 24 months. Anyhow, my father and mother came back from Zambia, and we were taken out of boarding school in 1982. The boarding school I went to was in Wolverhampton, and then we all moved back down to London, family home, and I went to an inner city comprehensive school in Brixton in 1982, and my education started to deteriorate because I went from an extremely good, one of them shouting out to my brother and myself, we were messing around, pushing each other, we were almost home, it's almost dinner time, just about to go around the corner, the road that my aunt lived on, and these lads would go past, and one of them shouted out, "You stupid fucking packies." So I turned around without thinking, I don't know why I did this, maybe it was a taste of things to come in my adulthood, I don't know. I turned around and told him to shut up. So 12 years old, I turned around, maybe I thought there was no danger, nothing to be afraid of. I turned around, just automatically I told him to shut up. Big mistake, big mistake. As soon as we went around the corner, what I didn't know was two lads turned around on the bike and then followed us. Stopped, got off the bike, went over to me, and the lad that was not actually piloting the bike, but sitting astride, went over to me and he had a bag, something heavy in his bag, and he hit me over the head with it. Took my glasses off, metal rimmed glasses, and bent them backwards. I was in absolute tears. I felt the worst that I've ever felt in my whole life up until then. And the other lad, who was slightly older than this one, said, "Oh, don't break his glasses." Took them glasses back, bent them back for me, and gave them to me. I don't know whether he thought he was showing a bit of kindness or what. Don't bend his, hit him, but don't break his glasses. Irony of ironies. I was literally yards from my auntie's house. Do you know? I did not tell anybody. My brother knew what had happened. Why didn't I tell anyone? I felt so ashamed about what had happened. I felt ashamed. I felt angry, and that's remaining with me today. So. I'm going to fast forward a little bit now. I struggled in school. By the time I was 15, my sight had got so bad, my eyesight got so bad, that I started playing truant in school for a couple of years. Because for me to go into school was so traumatic, I felt like I had no choice. I felt I had no future. I was wondering what I was going to do in terms of a career. My dad at this point come back from Zambia and bought a shop. So he was a businessman. And he bought a shop. And he said to me, "Haseeb, if you want to earn a bit of money, we'll put you on security. Sit in the corner there, keep an eye on your customers." A couple of nights after that, he said to me, "Haseeb, I've noticed on a couple of occasions, a couple of the customers who were stealing things, putting in their jacket right in front of you. I don't think you're really cut out for this job." Bang went my career as head of security. And I was wondering, what do I do next? Now, it wasn't until I was 17 years old my eye condition was diagnosed. I had retinitis pigmentosa, and my brother did as well. And the first thing I felt was, absolute relief. Relief that the condition had been actually identified. Relief that at last I can explain to my friends, my family, my teachers what the condition was. Relief that I was going to finally get some support at school. Now, it wasn't easy. The next few years were tough. I was a teenager, I was grown up, I was going through puberty. It wasn't cool to be carrying around a white cane when you were a teenager, particularly when there's school kids that you got to school with that see you one day able-bodied and the next day, as far as they saw it, some of them pretending to be blind. So there were difficult times. Eventually I did get to university. Eventually, I had a couple of moments where I had to actually throw in the towel, come back from university, and go back again. I won't go into the details of that. Back in 1988, when I first went, I came to Leicester from London to go to the Polytechnic. There was no disabled student grants in those days. Nothing to help you if you're a disabled student. When I went back to university in 1990, it was the first year of the disabled student grant. And I know I've got some Leicester University friends here. I went to Leicester University and I got some superb support through the university. Got my degree, went on eventually to work, and my very first job was in the voluntary sector, and I went on to the public sector to do equalities work. And I've heard a few people say here, talking about what a tough gig it is. It is a tough gig being an equalities person. For two reasons, I think. One is the amount of expectation that is on your shoulders for you to deliver the whole equalities agenda for the whole frigging organisation. That's secondly, people do actually finally break through and make it. Other people say, well, they're just tokens, they're just paying lip service. And you're between a heart, and I'm not expecting you to feel sorry for me. Either you develop a thick skin, you do the right thing, or you go under. And I've seen a lot of people call it as burnout lash. Now, one of the things that I want to say in terms of this agenda is, I've talked about the places that I've been, things that I've seen, what I've experienced personally. And I have seen change over the years. At a time when I thought that, in fact, I personally wouldn't be able to go on and have a career and work, I've got to head the Equalities area, Secretary of City Council a few years ago. I was there for a few years. I took a work-life balance decision because I got on a Great Britain Para Triathlon squad. For any of you who don't know what that is, I've been doing triathlons for the last few years, and I've competed at international and national levels. I've podiumed, come first in races, and I've broken the world record for the Ironman, which is the longest distance triathlon in 2016, so I've got Guinness Book of World Records. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is not to show off. The reason I'm telling you that is because in this world of diversity, we often talk about one-dimensional diversity. I've experienced racism, I've experienced obstacles in my path because of there's people here who've experienced multiple discrimination. Okay, we are the people we are because of the experiences we have and what shapes us. We are not one-dimensional creatures. I think the second point is that I decided to go off and do something else. I've had to train flipping hard to break records and to win races, because what I do in the gym and what I do with my coaches, no one can judge me when I get out into that into the competitive arena. When I nail it, it's not like a job interview, right? Either you win or you don't win. Either you break the record or you don't. No one is judging me because of my blindness, because of the colour of my skin. The performance stands for itself. The problem with the corporate world, and this is why people go into business, is because you can make it on your own if you're talented in business, right? You can, no one is going to stop you. The only person who's going to stop you really is yourself as a bank manager. So, I think the challenge is huge that we've got, but it certainly isn't impossible. What I've said to people is, if you can't see a way through where you are, in the diverse world that we live in, there are plenty of other places to go, and there are plenty of other places where people welcome you with open arms. I love Leicester. I love the diversity. I love the friends on this panel, and I believe in solidarity. That's my story. That's where I've got to say, and it's no different to what other people have said tonight. Thank you very much for this platform, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
We have questions. Haseeb.
I just want to say one thing. Haseeb, when you talk about bullying at school, that took me right back to my secondary school in Blackburn. When we moved to Leicester, I hadn't experienced any form of racism or prejudice, if you like. And I was bullied at school simply because I caught a girl out in rounders. And I just couldn't understand. For 3 years I was being bullied for just taking a girl out in rounders. I mean, rounders is a sport. And how the hell did I manage to get myself in this position? And how do I get out of it? But you are inspirational. Not only did you cope with what was happening around you, but the fact that you were using your eyesight and you had to work around that as well, that has taught me that, you know, my experience wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It still lives with me. And like you said, these experiences that we have gone through make you stronger and make you a little bit more resilient to what it is that we want to go towards. And we set ourselves goals and everything. And I don't feel any much worse, because like you said, this is what's made me where I am right now. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. No, I think I completely with you with this. I mean, my daughter's experienced bullying at school as well. She's 21 now, but it had a tremendous impact on her mental health.
Yeah.
She not only faced bullying, but she faced racism as well. Facebook is a wonderful thing. I mean, I use it a lot in terms of all the connections, and for me, getting out and about, being mobile isn't always easy.
Yeah.
So I can connect with the world using Facebook and technology. But my daughter faced some racism from a lad from school, and the police were involved. And this, we're talking in the 21st century.
Yeah, it shouldn't be happening.
It shouldn't be happening. It's still happening.
Yes.
We do need to stand up. We do need to support our young people. Our experiences have shaped us, and you're quite right, made us resilient. We need to then use that resilience to help other people. And Arnab talked very well about mentoring and coaching.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility to the people, not only younger and our young people growing up, but I think our colleagues at work as well, those that are struggling.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm not bothered about my career anymore, to be frank. I am aspirational. If somebody gave me a chief executive job tomorrow, I wouldn't say no. But I'm not hankering for it. I don't have that kind of desire. I want to make a difference. I want to help people around me I want to fight injustice.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you've gone so far through that, it's you don't need to do that, people need to do that. If you look at it in that way, it's a positive.
Yes. Thank you very much.
good. I just want to say, Haseeb, thank you very much. Such an inspirational, personal journey that you get things through, and I very much appreciate that you shared that with us. Thank you.
Just to say that I'm at the University Hospital of Leicester now. Started working there in the last 3 or 4 months. I work with my colleague Paul Fitzgerald. I've got Carl Mays here from the University Hospital of Leicester. He's still here. Still here, Carl? He's gone. He's so there's a few of us. If anyone here at any stage has any issues around access or has any feedback that they want to give myself and my colleagues, I'm only down the road, not far, so just to flag that up.
We have one final question. Maybe two. Yeah, please go ahead.
Just a quick one, really. In the conversations we've had this evening around diversity, inclusion and so on, one of the things I'd like to put out to everybody in the room, because I think it's a point that needs to be expressed from my thinking anyway. We know that white working class and not so much working class boys are not doing as well educationally as some of the other youth within the mix of Leicester and so on. What would you say, or what would you offer as something that those in the know could do in terms of accessing those youth who could be growing up to be the enemy within? We're looking on the extreme right, not just in terms of what's happening on this issue of Islam and extremism. The government, it has an agenda around something called Prevent, if you haven't heard of it before, working to raise awareness of Prevent. And as these young people are part of this diversity, male, female, young, old, and so on, what do you feel we need to be doing? I'll put it to the whole panel really, to look at how we can, in this community, address some of the help that young white youth need, and that's female as well, not just male.
I think that's an excellent question, and we can come to the question at the end after we hear from our last speaker, so we can come back to it and we can hear from everyone. Yeah. Before we go to the last speaker,
just want to say thank you for all talkers, but at the same time, the kind of issue that you faced as a child, kind of age 13, and kind of I lived in this area for a massive chunk of my life, so I lived on 2 roads not very far away, and I actually went to a secondary school not too far down Narborough Road. So I won't name the school as such, but I think the first time I remember hearing being called a packie, I remember saying to my mum and dad, you know, Mum got called a packie, it was 7th Street, and it wasn't at school, it was in the street, and initially I was just told, sorry, just ignore it. My geography wasn't great. So the school I went to was great, but my learning wasn't great, so my understanding of geography wasn't amazing. So I didn't realise that Paki meant Pakistani. I just assumed at the time that I was a Paki. It's just because you hear it so often, so regularly. To me, I was Paki. It just became just the norm. And eventually, when geography class came, and I found there was a place on the map called Pakistan, I was like, Mum, we're Indian. I was like, we're not Pakis. And she said yes. She goes, technically you're Fijian. 50 years ago your ancestors left India to go to Fiji, so you're Fijian Indian, but you're still Indian, but you're British Indian. I goes, so why have you called me Paki? She said, they don't know. She goes, well, all this time you always kind of told me just not to listen, but then I didn't know. So I think there's a lot to be said for kind of understanding and kind of different interesting communities. So I remember, I wear glasses, I'm very poorly short-sighted, but not as a gentleman at front. But I remember being called Four Eyes kind of throughout school. And when you bully, it's not just one thing you bully about. It'll be a multitude of things. So I had ridiculously curly hair, so I remember being called Elvis. But it's whether the bullying would have stopped had I not been from an ethnic background. You know, whether if I wasn't called a Paki simultaneously as Four Eyes. You know, I wasn't just a twat. I was a four-eyed twat. But I wasn't just a four-eyed twat, I was a four-eyed Paki twat. And that's what it was, and it was always a culmination of a series of different things. But then, when it came down to when I got home at the end of the evening, it was kind of like no, I am just a four-eyed twat, so I'm not a Paki. And it was kind of one of the kind of weird things that stuck with me. Even afterwards, when I left school, because I had a very sheltered school life. I didn't like going out too much because when you're bullied, you don't go out as often as you would do. I didn't ever go to kind of the Belgrave areas, the Edmonton areas, and Highfields, and all the other areas. So as far as my understanding of Leicester, the makeup and the demographic of Leicester was, it was predominantly white, because the school I went to was predominantly white. I was kind of taken under the wing of some girls who at the time kind of took pity on me, and a friend circle with them, so they've got 8 Indian girls and me. I remember not only was I kind of popular among the girls, but the question was whether I was homosexual, because I got called gay, I got called pimp, and there was one. We formed a friendship and we all got along, but it was on the basis that I was initially being bullied, and they kind of took me in their wings. But then the question was, was I not a threat to them as a male? So the only reason that I could be friends with 8 females was possibly because I was homosexual and I wasn't a threat to them, or because all the things kind of came in, but it was my sexuality came into question, my ethnic background came into question, all of the things that were related to that all came into question. So it was more a case of, kind of moving away from a lack of understanding of whether, partial sightedness is very common now. I've known people in the past to kind of make fun of other individuals who wear glasses, and I said to my mate, you just made fun of somebody wearing glasses because you said he was a 4-eyed knob. As he was driving the car, it was part of road rage, and you said he was a 4-eyed knob. I goes, you wear contact lenses. I goes, how are you any better? And then this is my friend who's driving the car, who's picked up just what he perceived as a flaw on another individual who's driving, who's cut him off, and he's referred to as a 4-eyed knob. And I was like, but you're 4-eyed, you wear glasses. By extension, I've seen your Specsavers contact lenses right at home. So how can you call somebody 4-eyed? So it's, I don't know if there's a question there or not, but more a case of kind of hard to understand, but at the same time, I think there's a lot to be done in the area of diversity. The gentleman who spoke first as well, so I didn't catch the name at the beginning, but I was thinking more the lines of, you said about integration in the workplace, and Narborough Road is one of the most culturally diverse cities in Leicester, having kind of been school here 20 years ago and still having relationships in the area. So I've got friends of mine who still live in the area and they're still part-time at Montfort University. And you've seen the makeup, but how do you promote kind of ethnic diversity and equality in an organisation? Say, for example, you've got a Latvian supermarket, then you've got a Polish supermarket, but at the same time, whereas in the Belgrave area, you've got certain stores which are going to be made up predominantly of ethnic background individuals, where the product and the product base and the knowledge and understanding is going to come more from an ethnic sort of background. So how do you integrate kind of people from a black or minority ethnic background into, let's say, for example, a sari shop, or how do you integrate somebody from an Asian sort of background into a Latvian retail store, whereby you're going to get pretty much one kind of a predominant demographic of individuals who are going to go there, but at the same time their service base and their users are going to require that sort of service, which is going to incorporate the language barriers and stuff. So how would you propose that we take in, let's say a Chinese girl into an Indian sari shop and a black minority ethnic individual into a Latvian supermarket store, where it's not just it's not token, because in fact they've got to have a functional use, but at the same time is it going to be, when people hear on their CV, he wasn't good enough for the job, but it's, at what point is it positive discrimination and it's right for the job, right for the business, or if it's just right for the person?
It's really complex.
Yeah.
We have unconscious bias, you have unconscious affinity as well, because of just the nature of how society's grown. So, everything you said is spot on. It's incredibly nuanced and complex. So, and that's my way of saying I don't know.
To be fair, I should put a question.
It goes back to the question. I know this is probably one that's going to throw into the panel, but I would say that Ted Cantor wrote a report back in 2000. Goodness me, one I think it was around that time, called Parallel Lives. This was after the Bradford Oldham and Birmingham riots, and he recognised that effectively the communities up there were leading very separate lives, and that was causing mistrust. People were very much against one another, didn't stand against cultures. And that's where the divide actually started to actually create division within communities and led to the riots. We did some work in Leicester And I mean, his feeling was there was much more integration. I mean, it wasn't perfect. There was much more integration within Leicester communities than there ever was up in those northern cities. Why? It's because we have communities that live side by side of them. You're talking about different shops, and I mean I know that there's lots of people from different communities actually go and visit the international shops, and they'll try different foods. They mix in the schools and the groceries. There is still, I think, a degree of parallel lives that happen. And I talked about my daughter earlier on at Beecham College. You do get kids who hang around only with kids from their own backgrounds. How do you enable kids from a different background to stop doing that and get them? You've really got to start to do some engineering around it, really. There's got to be some deliberate way of actually getting them to mix together, whether it's in sports, whether it's in social activities, citizenship programs and projects. You've got to bring people from different parts of the city together and form friendships. Because with friendships, you start to break down those barriers.
Can I speak to that? Yeah, sorry. I think we need to find the speaker.
Yeah.
Very, very quick. I just want to make a quick point. We've got the Christian schools, we've got Hindu schools, street Muslim schools. When I was at school, we did have these different kinds of schools. I think that is one of the most dangerous things. And I think all children should go to school together. And this, you go to that school, you go to that school, that is very dangerous. That's what I want to say.
Right, so shall we move to our final speaker, and then we can have a conversation?